For every loved Courage the Cowardly Dog character, there is one that is absolutely despised by the audience. Which is why today, we're comparing the most loved characters from the cartoon with the most hated. Starting with Courage himself. He's scared, he's panicking, he's basically vibrating with anxiety in every episode. And yet Courage is the heart, the soul, and the entire nervous system of Courage the Cowardly Dog. From the moment he appeared, Courage was different from your average cartoon dog. He's not cool, not slick, not even particularly brave by normal standards. In fact, he spends most of his time trembling, hallucinating, or getting smacked across dimensions by eldritch monsters. But what made him unforgettable was what he did despite that fear. Courage is fear personified, but also loyalty, determination, and raw instinct to protect. That dynamic plays out constantly in episodes like King Ramses' Curse, where he battles a vengeful ghost demanding a stolen slab, or The House of Discontent, where he's literally thrown into a cornfield and still crawls back to save Muriel and Eustace. It's easy to root for a confident hero, but Courage makes you root for the one who's terrified out of his mind and still shows up every single time. He doesn't speak much, just a few words here and there, but his voice acting is iconic, especially the fast-paced panic rants that no one listens to. That's part of what makes him so painfully relatable. He's the embodiment of anyone who's ever tried to warn people, fix everything on their own, or scream internally while the world acts like everything's fine. But beyond the screaming and slapstick, Courage's most powerful moments are surprisingly quiet. In remembrance of Courage Past, we learn about his childhood trauma. Scientists forcibly abducted his parents while he watched helplessly. Fans love Courage not because he's strong, but because he's vulnerable. He panics, flinches, and cries, but he never stops trying. And in a world full of monsters, haunted furniture, and psychological horror, that's about as brave as it gets. But where Courage made fans feel love and loyalty, our next character stirred up something else. Your annoyance. There's one character in Courage the Cowardly Dog who turns a place of healing into a house of horrors. It's the Cruel Veterinarian. This character takes the idea of a trusted animal doctor, someone who's supposed to care and protect, and twist it into something genuinely terrifying. That's why fans immediately despise him, even though he only appeared once. The Cruel Veterinarian shows up in the episode Remembrance of Courage Past, and his actions are enough to send shivers down your spine. Unlike most villains who go for overt scares or spooky powers, this vet's cruelty is chilling because it's so personal. He treats animals with downright cruelty and coldness, showing no empathy or kindness. For a show that usually mixes humor with horror, his cold-heartedness is a dark, uncomfortable note that really stands out.
Ready for the trip? It's your turn now.
What makes him even worse is how he abuses the trust placed in him. The Bag household, especially Courage, relies on vets to help, but this guy turns that expectation on its head. He's not just any villain, he's the one who took Courage's parents away when he was just a puppy, launching them into space as part of a failed experiment. That single act left him an orphan, setting the entire course of his life until Muriel adopted him. Fans often point out how the Cruel Veterinarian represents a deeper kind of fear, the fear of being helpless when you need help the most. Courage's horror isn't just from monsters or ghosts, it's from people who should be kind but aren't, and that betrayal hits harder than any supernatural scare. Despite his brief appearance, the Cruel Veterinarian has earned a permanent spot on the list of most hated characters. After surviving the cruelty of the veterinarian, it's only fair we cleanse the palate, the most wholesome soul in Nowhere. In a show full of jump scares, haunted dolls, and literal journeys to the afterlife, Muriel Bag is the softest weapon against the dark. From her very first appearance, Muriel was never just the nice old lady. She was the reason Courage had something to fight for. Warm, Scottish accented, and always armed with a cup of tea and a wildly oblivious sense of calm. Muriel's the kind of character that doesn't need flashy scenes or catchphrases to steal hearts. She does it by simply existing as the emotional anchor in a world that's constantly unraveling. Even when she's kidnapped by alien ducks, possessed by ancient spirits, her tone rarely changes. She's still calling courage dear, still offering soup to interdimensional threats. That's what makes her so iconic. She never breaks, not even when reality does. Muriel is often written off as naive, but it's more than that. She sees the good in everything, even when there's clearly none to be found. And sometimes that belief is the very thing that saves them. In the Magic Tree of Nowhere, it's Muriel's gratitude and kindness that makes a literal magic tree bloom and protect their home, while Eustace's greed causes it to vanish. She doesn't need Courage's strength or Eustace's toughness, such as it is. Her power is nurturing. What really made fans fall in love with her is the way she treats Courage. She never mocks his fear. She never brushes him off. While Eustace is busy screaming at him or slamming doors in his face, Muriel's holding him close, telling him he did well, even if all he did was survive another day. That's why her rare moments of sadness hit so hard. In the Tower of Doctors Lost, when she was robbed of her joy, the house goes gray, the music turns eerie, and Courage is forced to go to wild extremes to bring her happiness back. Because when Muriel isn't okay, the world feels broken. Muriel is love in a horror show. She's the pause between panic attacks, and without her, there wouldn't be anything left worth saving. But for every warm hug Muriel gives, there's a creature lurking in the dark ready to ruin it, starting with a certain oversized rodent nightmare. Weremole shows up in the show like the sneaky nightmare you didn't know you needed to fear. Unlike the flashy villains with loud growls or glowing eyes, Weremole creeps in quietly, literally. And that low-key menace is exactly why fans love to hate him. He's not just some monster, he's the embodiment of the gross, the slimy, and the downright unsettling. From his first appearance, Weremole makes it clear that he's a pest in every sense of the word. He's part mole, part werewolf, and all kinds of creepy, burrowing under Courage's house like some subterranean nightmare. What makes Weremole especially hated is that he's not just scary, he's disruptive in the worst way possible. While most villains in the show go for big, dramatic scares, Weremole is more like the mosquito you can't swat away. Fans often point out how Weremole's threats feel so much more personal and invasive than the usual Courage villains. He's not some distant magical monster, he's that annoying invasive problem you can't ignore no matter how hard you try. Plus his creepy little grin and twitchy movements are just unsettling enough to give you chills even during the day. Even though Weremole only appears in a single episode, his impact lingers. The feeling of what if something's hiding under your floor sticks with viewers long after the credits roll. And that slow creeping menace is exactly why Weremole is one of the most hated characters in the show, because nothing is more terrifying than a monster who never stops burrowing. After dealing with the Weremole's creepy crawlies, it's time to face Eustace, who somehow manages to be both the worst and the best part of the show. Eustace Bagg is the human equivalent of a rusty lawnmower. Loud, cranky, probably dangerous, and still hanging around long past retirement. And somehow, fans can't get enough of him. He's the king of get off my property energy, permanently glued to his armchair in a mustard-colored bathrobe, rocking a scowl that could scare away a ghost. Most of the time he's either yelling at Courage, clanking around with some weird helmet contraption, or throwing tantrums because he didn't get more macaroni.
Eustace, I'll get to making dinner soon as I'm done cooking that batch of my special secret recipe blue ribbon dog food.
Hurry!
In the very first episode, Eustace is a professional hater. He wakes up cranky, spends all day cranky, and goes to bed mad that nobody respects his crankiness. But it works. He's not some grand villain with a tragic backstory, he's just petty, and deeply committed to it. And that's exactly why fans adore him. Eustace doesn't evolve. He doesn't learn, he doesn't grow, but somehow that refusal to change makes him one of the most stable characters in a show where literal shadows attack people and evil ducks pilot UFOs. Let's not forget how weirdly creative his pettiness gets. In the House of Discontent, he he nearly sacrifices his house over a squash growing contest. In Courage Meets Bigfoot, he literally tries to sell a lonely Bigfoot to the circus. This man would trade the moon for $5 and a coupon for free coffee. But he's not totally heartless. Once in a blue moon, he'll surprise us by doing something vaguely decent, usually by accident. Eustace's grumpiness is one thing, but his mom, she takes family drama to a whole new next-level nightmare. She instantly becomes the most hated character in the series, and for good reason. Unlike Muriel's warm and nurturing presence, Eustace's mom brings a cold gust of family drama straight into the Bagg household. She's the embodiment of old-school tough love, except it's less love and more tough. In episodes like Mother's Day, where she plays a key role, her sharp tone and unrelenting attitude immediately sets the tone. There's no sugarcoating, no kindness, just a relentless barrage of criticism that feels like it could strip paint off the walls. What makes her so despised is how she highlights the source of Eustace's constant misery. Eustace's mom isn't just mean, she's emotionally distant, cold, and dismissive. Unlike many villains who have clear motivations, she's just there, a looming presence of harsh family expectations and crushing disapproval. It's easy to see why Eustace is so defensive and rude when his own mother barely shows him an ounce of warmth. So yeah, she barely gets screen time, but her impact is huge. In online fan communities, she's often brought up as one of the most hated characters. Not because she's flashy or evil in the classic sense, but because she's painfully real in her emotional cruelty. And honestly, that makes her way scarier than any supernatural villain Courage ever faced. So while Eustace's mom brought the family drama to a new level, the next duo captured fans' hearts by flipping the script, showing loyalty, grit, and a bond that's anything but ordinary. They only show up once, but somehow Kitty and Bunny managed to leave a bigger emotional dent in fans than characters who appeared across multiple seasons. If Courage is known for turning nightmares into cartoons, the Mask episode is where it flipped the script and dropped a story so raw, so weirdly adult, that it turned two side characters into cult legends. Let's talk Kitty first. From the second she storms in, wearing that white mask, kicking Courage across the room, and flipping the kitchen table, she's not here to be cute. She's intense, cold, hyper-focused. She has one goal: to protect her best friend Bunny from whatever shady trouble Courage is clearly part of. Of course, she's wrong, but it makes sense why she's paranoid. Because as the episode unfolds, you realize Kitty's not just being dramatic. She's been through it. She's been watching Bunny get trapped in an abusive relationship with Mad Dog, a literal gangster who treats Bunny like property. And while the show never uses words like abuse, the imagery is hauntingly clear. Bunny is isolated, timid, and scared. Mad Dog owns her apartment, her movements, her freedom. Kitty, meanwhile, has been trying to get her out. She's the one friend who never gave up. But she's also traumatized, angry, and consumed by guilt. Her hatred for Courage? It's just projection. He reminds her of Mad Dog, and she doesn't want to make the same mistake twice. In the final act, Courage helps Bunny break free, and Kitty, in one of the most beautifully understated reunions in the show's history, finally sees her friend safe and smiles. That's it. That's the payoff. Just two girls running off together, finally free. And yeah, let's not ignore the fact that fans have always read Kitty and Bunny as queer-coded. Whether you see them as soulmates, sapphic icons, or just besties bonded by drama, their relationship has more emotional weight in a single episode than most shows can manage in 10. And in a world full of literal demons, they were two of the most human characters Courage ever met. While this cute friendship won our hearts, our next character reminded everyone why not all villains are easy to forget. If Courage the Cowardly Dog had a Hall of Fame for villains, Cats would be first in line, grinning that smug little grin. He's not loud, he's not chaotic, he's calm, composed, and chillingly polite. That's exactly what makes him terrifying. Cats doesn't need jump scares or giant fangs. He terrifies you with vibes. A red, lanky cat who runs a shady motel in the middle of nowhere with pet spiders? Yeah, nothing suspicious about that at all. But Cats isn't just creepy because of his setting. He's disturbing because of how calm he stays while doing genuinely evil things. He smiles through every trap, every manipulation, every act of cruelty, and fans, they never forgot.
Now you're going to learn why no one ever checks out of the Cat's Motel.
Cats keeps coming back to Club Cats, Cats Under the Sea, and more. Each time he's got a new scheme to torture Courage and his family, whether he's turning Muriel into a washing machine or setting traps like a horror villain with a PhD in passive aggression. He brings a level of sophistication to villainy that makes your skin crawl. What makes Cats even more hated is how personal he makes things. He doesn't try to harm Courage, he toys with him. He mocks his fear, he sets up scenarios designed to break Courage mentally, not just physically. It's psychological warfare. He enjoys every second of it. And fans call him the real main villain, worse than any monster and the kind of creepy that sticks with you for years. Some even say they couldn't look at Red Cats the same way after watching Courage. That's how deep Cats got under everyone's skin. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button and subscribe button. Otherwise, Eustace's mom might show up at your door with a list of everything you've done wrong. And if your dog starts staring nervously at the wall tonight, maybe just leave the lights on.